There is a particular silence that settles over a house in the early hours of the morning. It is a quiet time, but for many of us who have crossed the threshold of 60 or 70 years, it is not always a peaceful one. Perhaps you know this feeling. You wake before the sun, not because you are rested, but because your mind has already begun its daily inventory of worries. You sit up, reach for that small machine on your nightstand, wrap the cuff around your arm, and wait. The Velcro scratches the silence, the pump whirs, and in those 30 seconds, you feel a tightening in your chest that has nothing to do with the cuff. You are waiting for a number, and you are afraid of what that number might say about your future. We spend so much of our lives fearing the loss of things, money, status, time, but as we age, the fear shifts. We begin to fear the loss of self. The fear isn't just about a stroke or a heart attack. It is the terrifying thought of becoming dependent, of losing the ability to drive your car to the grocery store, to walk your garden unassisted, or, perhaps most painful of all, the fear of your memories slipping away like sand through an hourglass because the delicate vessels in your brain can no longer withstand the pressure. I am not here to lecture you on diet or hand you a list of impossible exercises. I am here to tell you a story about your own body, a story that modern medicine often forgets to tell in the rush of writing prescriptions. It is a story about a power you have possessed since your very first cry, a power to reclaim your autonomy that requires no pharmacy and no copay. It is the power of your breath. To understand why this matters, we must look beyond the simple mechanics of the heart and understand the exquisite, fragile relationship between your blood and your brain. Imagine, if you will, the blood-brain barrier. It is a miraculous, microscopic filter that protects your brain from toxins, acting like a gatekeeper. When we are young, this gate is strong, but as we age, and specifically when our blood pressure spikes, repeatedly driven by stress, anxiety, or that fight or flight response that seems to get stuck in the on position, that barrier begins to weaken. It becomes leaky. When your pressure surges, it is not just a number on a screen. It is a hydraulic assault on the most precious architecture you own, your mind. High pressure forces its way through those delicate gates, causing microscopic inflammation, slowly eroding the neural pathways that hold the names of your grandchildren and the stories of your youth. This is the silent engine of vascular dementia. Furthermore, our bodies possess natural sensors, baroreceptors, located in our neck and chest. Think of them as the body's internal thermostat for pressure. In our 30s, they are sensitive and quick, adjusting our flow instantly. But like an old thermostat, they can become stiff and less responsive with age. They forget how to relax. The system gets stuck in a state of high tension, causing your blood vessels to constrict, which only drives the pressure higher. It becomes a vicious cycle. The fear of the pressure raises the pressure. But here is the good news, and it is profound. You can recalibrate this thermostat. You can manually override this stuck system. You do not need to be a yogi or a marathon runner. You simply need to learn to speak the language of your nervous system. Let us weave these practices into the fabric of your day, not as chores, but as rituals of sovereignty. Imagine your day not as a race, but as a series of moments where you choose to take control. It begins in the morning, or perhaps in the quiet afternoon when you are sitting in your favorite chair. This is the time for what we call resonant breathing. Think of this not as exercise, but as a tune-up for that rusty thermostat I mentioned. The goal here is rhythm. We want to slow your breathing down to exactly 6 breaths per minute. Why 6? Because at this specific frequency, something magical happens in human physiology. Your heart rate and your breath synchronize perfectly. It is called coherence. It sends a powerful signal up the vagus nerve, the superhighway, to your brain, telling it that you are safe. So, sit comfortably, place a hand on your belly, let your shoulders drop away from your ears. We are going to inhale for a slow count of 5 and exhale for a slow count of 5. No pausing, no holding, just a continuous fluid wave. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel your belly rise to meet your hand, and then gently fall. Do this for 5 or 10 minutes. This practice is the antidote to the stiffening of arteries. It is how you tell your blood vessels to soften. I had a patient, let's call her Margaret. She suffered terribly from white coat syndrome. Her pressure would skyrocket the moment she walked into a clinic. She began practicing this resonant breathing while sitting in the waiting room. By the time the nurse called her name, her system had shifted from alarm to calm. She didn't just lower her numbers, she regained her dignity. She proved to herself that she could control her body's panic response. Now, life is not always a quiet afternoon in a chair. Sometimes, life is a sudden phone call with bad news. It is a heated disagreement. It is the sudden flush of anxiety when you feel your heart racing. For these moments, we need something more immediate. A rescue technique. This is where we turn to an ancient method supported by modern cardiology. Alternate nostril breathing. I know it sounds strange if you've never seen it, but consider this. When we are stressed, we tend to breathe shallowly, and often through just one side of the nose, without realizing it, reflecting an imbalance in our brain's hemispheres. This technique forces you to focus, balancing the left and right sides of the brain, and forcing the nervous system to pump the brakes. In a moment of high stress, simply take your right hand, close your right nostril with your thumb, inhale deeply through the left, then close the left nostril with your ring finger, release the thumb, and exhale through the right. Then inhale through the right, switch, and exhale through the left. Think of Robert, a man of 68 who used to rush to the emergency room whenever his pressure spiked in the evening, terrified he was having a stroke. The panic only made it worse. When he learned this technique, he found he had a tool in his pocket better than panic. He could sit for 5 minutes, perform this alternating flow, and watch his systolic pressure drop by 10, 15 points. He stopped being a victim of his adrenaline. He became the master of his physiology. And finally, we come to the end of the day. The house is quiet again. You are in bed, but perhaps sleep is elusive. Your mind is racing, or perhaps you've woken up to use the restroom and cannot settle back down. This is the time for the 4-7-8 technique, a natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. This rhythm is specific because the extended exhale is the key. When you inhale, your heart rate speeds up slightly. When you exhale, it slows down. By making the exhale twice as long as the inhale, we are physically forcing the heart to slow. Lying in the dark, you breathe in quietly through the nose for 4 seconds. You hold that breath, allowing the oxygen to saturate your lungs for 7 seconds. And then you exhale forcefully through your mouth, making a whooshing sound for 8 seconds. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. It requires concentration, and that is the point. You cannot worry about tomorrow while you are counting to 7. You are guiding your body into a state of deep restoration, allowing the glymphatic system, the brain's nightly cleaning crew, to do its work, washing away the proteins and toxins that accumulate during the day. You are protecting your brain while you sleep. My friends, I want you to look at your hands. These hands have worked. They have held children. They have built lives. They are not the hands of a person who is finished. Do not let the medical world reduce you to a chart of declining numbers. Do not let the fear of what might happen steal the joy of what is happening right now. The Stoic philosophers believed that we should not fear age, but rather fear never having truly lived. They taught amor fati, love your fate. Love this body, even with its creaky joints and its stiffening vessels, for it is the only vessel you have for this remarkable journey. By taking 10 or 15 minutes a day to practice these breathing techniques, you are doing more than managing hypertension. You are engaging in a daily act of self-respect. You are saying, I am still here. I am still in control. I am the guardian of my own health. I am the guardian of my own health. So, tonight, when the house is quiet, do not reach for the worry. Reach for the breath. Inhale the present moment. Hold it with gratitude. And exhale the fear. You have earned this peace.